USCHO.com.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly. It's the final season as an independent for Arizona State.
And joining us on USCHO Spotlight, the coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils, Greg Powers. Greg, nice start for your team this week, this season. A couple of wins against a nationally ranked team in Merrimack, two more against Northern Michigan last weekend. What have you seen so far? Obviously, there's a lot to like when you're 4-0, but what have you seen from this team so far?
I think just the compete level and balance and depth that we didn't have last year. We obviously lost a couple of really good players, but we added players that really give us the identity that we want to play with, and it's just a really tight group. We're off to a great start. To be able to sweep Merrimack, who's very good. Was a great way to start the season. We understand how fortunate we were to get an Alex Jeffries-less Merrimack, but they're still very good. So there were two big wins. It could have gone either way, but our guys found a way to win. And there were games last year where our team didn't find ways to win. So there's a resiliency and resolve in our group so far that we really like, and now we just have to keep pushing forward.
I'm looking at your roster and statistics at this point, 4 games in. I think you have 10 different goal scorers already. I know that you and I talked at one point last year about just having a little bit more scoring depth, and you've once again been really effective in the portal in terms of pulling in some more mature talent. Just talk a little bit about your offense and its ability to score at this point.
Yeah, we obviously Matthew Copperud leads the way, and he just broke our program record for power play goals, and he's off to a nice start. And you're able to add a kid like Alex Young, who had 21 goals at Colgate last year. He's already has a couple of goals, and up and down our lineup, a ton of guys that have chipped in. I told Derek Schooley this the other day when he called to ask what was going on. Our fourth line has been our best line. So when you have that depth and they're just playing the right way, and you have, the balance, it's a tough matchup for other teams when you can roll 4 lines at them and wear teams down and grind them out, and have 4 lines playing the right way. It's a luxury that, we didn't have last year. And we really like the way our team's structured and how we kind of retooled our roster again to fit an identity that we want to play with. And so far, so good.
What have you seen from the maturing and, getting better with age for TJ Septenfelter in net? Obviously, a kid that didn't get a lot of time playing behind Devin Levi at Northeastern, did well when he was called in. But then he got into your program. Decent numbers, but they're greatly improved 4 games into this season. What's different?
Yeah, he last year was his first year as a full-time starter, and I don't think I managed TJ that well last year. I probably rode him a little too much, but it got to a point where we knew mid-January it wasn't going to go the way we wanted it to go, and we made a decision like let's keep playing him and let him figure out what it's going to take to carry a load at this level and be the guy. And he had a great offseason. He had a really good camp at Buffalo Sabres development camp, and he looks incredible. He really does. And I think the workload on TJ has been a lot lighter through 4 games this year than 4 last. We have a complete buy-in and overall commitment to team defense, and restructured some things and changed how we played defensively a little bit. Albie O'Connell and Dana Borges have done a great job bringing in new ideas and new energy to our program. And that's, I think, really helped TJ. Northern Michigan's a heck of an offensive team, and to hold them to 17 shots on Saturday is a big deal. And so TJ hasn't seen the load that he did last season, and that's going to help manage him too. But we have a really good goaltender in Gibson Homer who's going to see some time and be able to spell TJ a little bit this year. And we like our depth at that position as well.
Greg, you mentioned the assistants, and I wanted to bring that up next. The NCAA now allowing 3 paid assistant coaches, and it seems like you've divided up some responsibilities in there too, by the way they're listed. What does having 3 assistants bring to the program for you, and how does that function at Arizona State?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, we adding the third coach, especially one at the level of Dana Borges. And I mean, he was the associate head coach at Colgate and did such a great job there. But just to add a guy that's so driven and smart and brings so many great resources to the table has just expanded everything that we're doing, and you bring in a guy like Albie, who's been a head coach and he knows what it takes and was at BU and did such great things at BU and is such an elite recruiter. It's just allowed me to focus on other areas of the program and really focus on being a head coach and focus more on coaching, because we have so many guys that can do so many different things, and we have divided up responsibilities, but we work really well together. We see the game the same way, which is why I hired those 2 guys. And when you tack on Alex Six to that, we really think we have a great staff.
You hear some veteran coaches, and I mean, guys have been around 20, 30 years at the Division I ranks, talk a little bit about how things have changed and how relationships between head coaches and individual players have become a lot more personal. What kind of a relationship do you try to pursue with players, and how does that help you as a head coach get to know the players more as a person?
Well, and I think that again goes back to now, having 3 guys, do different things in your program. It's allowed me to really reconnect with our players and focus on building those relationships, because they are, with today's player, they need those relationships. There has to be trust between the head coach and the player up and down the roster. And if you don't find time for them and give them that individual attention and sit down with them, and it's the old saying that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You're not going to get anywhere with today's player. And so adding a guy like Dana, to take on so much more responsibility has really allowed me to do that with our players. And I feel like our culture is really at an all-time high right now. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Mullet Arena is another reason for that, and having a place to call home and a place where our players and our staff love to come to work every day and be together every day. But yeah, that's how it has to be, in my opinion now. And we're really enjoying it. It's a team that our entire staff really looks forward to being at the rink every day. I've never gotten to the rink earlier and stayed later than I have with this team. So we love being here. We love being around each other, and we look forward to keeping that going.
More with Arizona State head coach Greg Powers in a moment. We continue now with Arizona State head coach Greg Powers. This is the first chance we've had to talk since the announcement early in July that your program will join the NCHC next season. Can you give us maybe just a little brief summary of how that finally came together? And then secondly, if it's already making some differences in things that you do, including planning for next year.
Yeah, it finally just, we came to the conclusion once we got our house in order here and obviously got our arena built and operational, we needed to get into a league. Being an independent has been fun. It was the right move for us in that era of our program. We were able to qualify for a couple of tournaments and hopefully a third this year. That's the goal in our last season as an independent. But boy, when you're not in the mix in that pairwise, late in January, it is hard for kids to stay engaged. And we felt that a couple of years, and we want to give our guys a championship to play for every year, and develop those conference rivals and really dive in and be a part of what college hockey is all about. And so we really aggressively pursued conference affiliation. And at the end of the day, the NCHC just made the most sense. We believe it is the best league in college hockey with 5 of the last 7 national championships regionally and student athlete experience. The pod scheduling with Denver and CC, they're quick, easy flights and easy travel. Great historic programs like North Dakota, and Minnesota Duluth and St. Cloud and Western Michigan. So we just thought it was the best fit, and reciprocally they did as well. Heather came down and visited us over a series last January, and we toured around Mullet Arena, and she was very supportive of us, joining that league, and we're very appreciative of that. And they've welcomed us with open arms, and we're just excited to get going. And what that's done for us, I don't think a guy like Albie O'Connell comes here if we're not in a league, because he wants to recruit the best players, and the best players out there don't want to play an independent schedule. It's just that simple. So what it's done for us from a recruiting standpoint, it's allowed us to go and retain talent like Albie and like Dana, and what they've done from a recruiting standpoint. We're now having access to kids at a level that we've never had access to, and that's exciting. And I don't think we have those conversations if we don't have that to speak about, that we're going into a league next year.
I also have to think that not having to put together every single game of your schedule probably feels a little bit better. Not that you've not been strategic. I think you've been very strategic with your schedule, and you try to build it, in a way that could qualify for an NCAA tournament as an independent, something you obviously succeeded at. But it's got to be exhausting trying to put together schedules year in, year out, knowing that you're filling 34 and not 20 or 12 or whatever it might be.
It's a tough puzzle to put together. It really is. And my, I empathize with the other independents, and I know what they go through, especially at the end of the season. As we've added programs in college hockey, it's become a lot easier to fill out the schedule in February because we have enough independents to do it. But it's hard, and you got to travel a lot in your first 5 years. And we did that. And you see how much Lindenwood's traveling, and Stonehill's traveling, and LIU's traveling. It's hard to get home games. And so to know that now all I have to do is schedule those 10 non-conference games. It's a huge, huge thing off my plate. Now getting 24 games plopped onto our lap when a schedule was done next year has been difficult. To move all those out into future years, and to get teams to cooperate with moving those puzzle pieces. But everybody's been really supportive. They get it. And we're almost done figuring that out. But we can't wait for that next chapter. And that's what we're looking at this year, is kind of the last, page in the first chapter of Sun Devil hockey as an independent. And then we're going to go into chapter 2 next season.
I will say it is interesting looking at your current schedule. This will get lost next year, but you're heading to Miami this weekend for 2, and we'll get to that. But this is your only road trip until after Thanksgiving. That's pretty good as a head coach to get a lot of home games in your new building.
We had a lot of teams that owed us trips back, and they wanted to wait till we were in an arena, and it just happened that way. And I know there's going to be people out there that turn an eye at or whatever. They criticize having so many home games, but peel back the onion a little bit and see how much we've had to travel over the course of our first 7 years, and we earned this. And the guys that played here prior to this earned this for the guys that are here now with everything that we had to go through to build our program. So we're going to embrace it. We have a great facility here, and we take care of teams when they come in, and it's going to be a unique season in that sense, where we don't travel a lot, and we're just going to enjoy it.
Lastly, I know you'll be off on a plane a little bit later today. We mentioned your only trip. It is to Miami. That's a team that is an opponent you're going to face a lot in the future when you move to the NCHC. What are your thoughts having watched them on tape?
Well, they're off to a nice start. They're 3-1, so they're feeling good about their start, and now they have a ranked team coming in to further improve their resume, and I know they're going to be ready. Burge is got those guys playing well, and we're excited to play them. We've never played. They're one of the few teams left that we haven't played in college hockey, so we've never been on the ice against Miami, nor have we gone to Oxford. I was there this summer for my daughter's national camp, but we're excited to go. It's a beautiful facility. They've got a great program, and I know they're going to be ready for us. And we're going to have to play our best hockey to go there and have success.
Well, 4-0, that's a good record to bring in there. As you said, a nationally ranked team. It's been a good start for you, Greg, and we wish you you and Arizona State all the best. But thanks for taking the time today to join us, and good luck the rest of the way.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's always good to talk to you guys.
That's Arizona State head coach Greg Powers. Jim, this kind of wraps up a chapter, as Greg put it, on the independent history for Arizona State as they head into the NCHC next year. And we remember the announcement of a program there. And I don't want to say it was met with skepticism, but people were unsure whether they could be successful or not. There wasn't the kind of money pouring in that Penn State just a couple of years before had mentioned. And Arizona State did not have the benefit of being able to join a league immediately. But when you look from those early days, going from club to varsity at Oceanside to having a program enter the NCHC at Mullet Arena, it's been an amazing journey.
It has, and a remarkable one, if I might say so. You said skepticism. I think I was probably one of the skeptics. You knew, okay, it's a big school, 85,000 student body, a lot of money, a huge athletic department, a member of the Pac-12. When they entered, they'll exit as, I'm not even sure where Arizona State ends up in the whole the reorganization of all the major college sports. But as they go into the NCHC, I think they can look back and say, we learned a lot of good lessons. We fought a lot of good battles getting into an NCAA tournament. That was one of the things that it had been a really long time. We had to go back to the early 90s since an independent team had made it to an NCAA tournament. But Arizona State changed that history a little bit themselves. And Greg Powers has done everything to make this team so competitive. And as he said, there was something that he said toward the end. Teams want to come play here. And I get it. I don't think I realized it when they were starting up, saying that just geographically seems really far away. Why would a team from the East want to get there? But travel there is not that much more difficult than many of the other trips you take in a given season, no matter where you're coming from, even if you're coming from, New England. And there is a benefit to being there in 80-degree weather in January and February. So we've seen the growth through participation. In other words, teams have wanted to be part of their growth at Arizona State. And now we're going to see the final, the final big step here, which is joining a conference. And you and I were talking a little bit off the air. Who knows how competitive they'll be? And I'm not sure that the first 2 years, whether, you're first or last, well, first would be great, but if they were to finish at the bottom, not a big deal. But I feel like they're going to be competitive because they're getting some really high-end players, whether it's as a freshman or as a transfer. And I think that they know how to work the system really well. So, and there will be a lot of money, in the words of NIL, to be able to push towards some of these players. So I feel like there's a lot of upside for this Arizona State program.
Well, and they're coming into the league in the final season of grad transfers, so they may be able to pick up a couple of key pieces there. And don't overlook the importance of good assistants with backgrounds in recruiting to be able to bring them in there. And he pointed out specifically L.B. O'Connell and his background as a head coach and also a longtime assistant who recruited a lot of big-time players. I think they'll be right in the mix of things sooner than later in that league.
Well, when you bring in a great closer, and that's what Albie was as an assistant, you end up bringing in some top end talent. And the most important thing is that staff, it's got a lot of experience on it now, knows how to handle that top end talent. You can bring in the best players into any program, but if you don't know how to handle some of the, there's probably some egos that go along with it. There's some expectations that the players have coming in. So you have to be able to handle that. And I think, having that coaching staff, having a veteran coaching staff, a really experienced staff that has been around and has been a number of programs, I think that'll help. But you're right. When you can bring in top end talent, and that might not just be players, top end coaches are just as important as high end players. And I think that's what Greg Powers has begun to do here and has done it really well.
Well, we certainly wish him luck going forward the rest of the season, and thank Greg Powers for being our guest today. That'll wrap up this edition of USCHO Spotlight. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll see you next week.